Hey, it's Steve here. Just sitting here thinking about How to Cry, that experience in 2017, going to the base of that mountain. And I really, really didn't understand it until now. But, you know, looking, I have never climbed How to Cry, but I can see in YouTube on this post, you see a panoramic view of of the landscape. It seems like from that vantage point, you know, you can look more at world history, you can look more at things. When you're standing on a mountain, everything seems small, and you see how everything kind of fits together, everything flows. And so, I had that experience when I was a little kid. My grandpa, took me on a hike, and we would stand, somewhere high and look down. Or my dad, took us into the mountains, and all of the experiences I had, you could see it from a different vantage point. I remember my parents took me to the Grand Canyon, and when you go there and you look, and like this enormously awesome thing, it's like it just gives you a different perspective. You realize, wow, this planet is alive, and it's amazing, and it's old, and all this wonderful thing we call creation. Anyway, the point is that, in my life there was a lot of, I actually was wounded, at one point. My ex-wife was Catholic, and we're going to christen our daughter. And then, because the Catholic Church has certain beliefs, I had to convert to Catholicism and renounce my heritage. And I said, well, I can't do that. I mean, I'll come to Mass, and had no problem, but that wasn't, and I'm not, there's no indictment on them. It's just, that's their, how it is in that structure. That's how it is, or has been, or whatever. Point is that, my actually the person told my wife, listen, you're not married, so it's better that you divorce, and then then you can christen her if you're single. Anyway, that was a big wounding, to me. And so the point is, that was way back in, I don't know, 90, early 90s. Point I'm making is, through the process that God has given me and the experiences I've had, including things like participating in Azusa Now, but more importantly, the intimacy that I've come to have with the simplicity, of talking to my dad and heaven and all those kinds of things, and then going to Azusa Now and really being faced with, reconciliation, which, wow, was amazing to be a part of. And I mean, I actually, that's another story. But the point I'm trying to make is that that was a worldwide prayer meeting. It was people coming from all over the world for forgiveness, for moving forward. The Native Americans, the Catholic Church, it was represented there. All streams were represented there. And anyway, so that's another story. But what I'm saying is, I took that kind of, mindset or spirit of forgiveness along with me. And, there's a picture there of me on my way down to St. Maurice with the Azusa Now hat, and that's kind of just, I remember just did it for myself, took a picture, like, okay, I'm just going down. And so I was able to spend, overnight there and honor that place, because, if you look at the story, I mean, this panoramic view of YouTube, to the south, you see the valley, and that's where this whole issue happened with Maurice, the Theban Legion, and who were, when I went there, I'm like, wow, they're African Coptics, like, I mean, for thousands of years, yeah, Black lives really matter. I mean, look at the example of these guys standing up against Rome, and saying, no, we'll work for you, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. I mean, read the story. But no, we're not going to bow to your God, okay? And a small g, it was the Roman, whatever the God was. Anyway, and then you see in this post how, they came in and decimated them. But man, the Holy Spirit was on those guys in 289 or so. For them to have that kind of strength, I mean, that's a work of the Holy Spirit. Then you look north. The camera goes north, and I don't know, a few hundred kilometers or whatever, north is Zurich, and then that's, some of my relatives, distant relatives, the Anabaptists, and what they did, and they stood up against the powers that be and said, no, we want to read the Bible for ourselves, and we believe that our kids have to make the decision as adults. And that story, that's the general idea there. But then they stood up. I mean, Felix Manx, was one of the first guys that got killed, and then I guess a few years later, the Anabaptist story really got going. And I mean, thousands of people were burned at the stake for nothing more than saying it's a personal choice. It's got to happen inside. It's not something the state can do. And they also, one of the big deals there is that, Luther and the powers that be said, no, you're not going to read the Bible for yourself because you're a bunch of farmers, a bunch of common people. And then, Zwillingi went crazy and wrote, that's why they hunted them down. They're like, no, we're the authorities. We're going to tell you what it says. And the same thing, with the Catholic Church. Well, we're going to tell you. In fact, at that time, they were only speaking Latin to people for, a long time. It's like, we're the authority. We're the mouthpiece of God, which, again, the Catholic Church has done way more good in the world and still to this day does. So that was the whole spirit of reconciliation in that way. And this is just my own personal thing, So anyway, then, coming full circle, I mean, here we have today, we've come so far as people. Look what came from America. It was after the Revolutionary War, it wasn't 25 years later that Jefferson came up with the idea of separation of church and state. So here we are now, imperfect democratic republic that we are. And what comes out of it? The International Space Station with cooperation from other nations. And like astronauts come a long way. So I just put that here to kind of, look and say, look at that. There's the ISS coming over How to Cry. Right here where this happened. And what happened in Zurich. And the imperfect, messy thing we call Reformation and Revival. So anyway, then, the end of this, again, and this is just a post on my blog, but at the end of this, I'm just looking, at the Father of Lights, looking at the Psalms. Anyway, now oops. Hold on. My alarm went off. Oh, yeah. Anyway, okay, I'll make a better video later. Anyway, we'll talk to you later. God bless. It's all good. God got this.